The sky above the human colony glimmered with the last light of twin suns, casting long shadows over the jagged plains. Winds carried a faint hum, as though the planet itself was whispering secrets. Amid the barren terrain, the settlement of Veridia sprawled like a cautious child, wary of the unknown. Trade and diplomacy had kept the humans here alive for generations, but the shadow of the alien queen and her realm hung like a storm cloud above every gathering, every decision. Kale, the human diplomat stationed at Veridia, stood on the observation platform of the tallest tower, his gaze tracing the horizon where the floating city of the alien rulers shimmered with luminescent energy. It was beautiful in a terrifying way, an impossibly high structure of crystal-like spires and swirling light, hovering as if it defied all laws of physics. Yet beneath its beauty, Kale had always sensed the cold, commanding presence of the alien queen herself, ruling with a silent authority that could crush entire worlds. Kale's thoughts were interrupted by the urgent buzz of the comm. "Sir," his assistant's voice came sharp. "There's something in the outer field, movement approaching fast." The wind seemed to part for her as if the air itself recognized her presence. As she drew closer, Kale's breath caught. She was unlike anything he had seen, not entirely human, yet not the frightening alien soldiers he had expected. Her skin glimmered faintly under the dying light, with subtle patterns that seemed to pulse like a heartbeat. Her eyes were wide, luminous, and filled with an intensity that was almost painful to look at. And yet there was a fragility about her, a vulnerability Kale couldn't ignore. The crowd that had gathered on the platform murmured, some backing away in fear, others frozen in disbelief. The girl ran, not at a normal pace, but almost flying across the distance, and as she reached the edge of the platform, she did something no one expected. She ran straight toward Kale. Gasps filled the air. Diplomatic protocols, centuries of fear, and every rule about alien interaction evaporated in that single moment. The alien queen's daughter, Lyra, as the rumors had whispered, was running to a human, ignoring guards, advisors, and every law of her world. Kale's instincts screamed at him to step back, but his feet felt rooted to the spot. She stopped just a few paces from him, chest heaving, eyes wide with a mix of fear and determination. I had to come," she whispered, her voice melodic yet edged with tension. "I couldn't wait any longer." "Your mother's." It was as though the universe itself had shifted to bring this moment into existence. Advisors and soldiers began moving toward her, but Lyra held up a delicate hand. "Please, I'm not here to fight. I need—" Her voice faltered, and she glanced at Kale, as if seeking permission to speak a truth she could not utter aloud anywhere else. Kale's own voice felt small against the weight of the moment. You don't have to explain here, not yet. This is impossible. She is the daughter of the alien queen. No one approaches uninvited. You cannot trust her, Kale." "I needed to see you. Why choose me?" The gravity of her confession sank deep into him, pulling at corners of his heart he didn't know existed. The human world had never seen an alien like Lyra, never seen one willing to risk everything for a single human being. "Everything?" Kale began, unsure how to finish the sentence. "You mean your mother, the queen? She will not forgive me if she knows, but if I stay away, everything I care about will fall to her shadow, and I cannot let that happen, not while I still have a choice." But nothing in all his knowledge could have prepared him for this moment, a princess of an alien empire running into his arms, trusting him with secrets that could ignite a war. "Then we must be careful," he said finally, his voice steadying. "I will help you, but we need to plan. One wrong step, and it could destroy both our worlds. I'm ready for whatever comes next, if you are with me." Lights flickered in the distance, and Kale felt a pull in his chest, a warning, a premonition. The floating city's spires shimmered as if alive, watching, waiting. The crowd began to back away, muttering anxiously. Soldiers moved toward them, unsure whether to intervene, but Kale held up his hand. "Let her speak. Let her be. We don't have much time. The queen, she will know, soon." He only heard her, the daughter of a queen, alone, running toward him against every law, every expectation, and every danger. The sun dipped below the horizon, leaving a sky painted with bruised purples and fiery oranges. Shadows stretched across the platform, mingling with the first hints of night. And in that darkness, Kale understood something profound. This was no ordinary meeting of worlds. This was the beginning of a story that could change everything. And it had begun because she had run to him, because she had chosen him. As they moved away from the platform, slipping into the shadows of the city, Kale felt a strange mixture of fear and exhilaration. The night hummed with anticipation. Somewhere in the distance, the floating city pulsed with light, as if aware of the rebellion taking root in its own princess. Kale did not yet understand the full danger of what they faced. He did not yet know the depth of Lyra's power or the dark secrets the queen had hidden. But for the first time in his life, he felt a bond that transcended worlds. And that bond would soon be tested in ways neither of them could imagine. The stars above seemed to shine brighter that night, as though the universe itself was watching, waiting, and the night air was heavy with the scent of alien flora, strange blossoms glowing faintly under Viridia's twin moons. Kale led Lyra through hidden paths along the edge of the settlement, the shadows wrapping around them like a protective cloak. Every step felt dangerous, as though the universe itself was holding its breath. Lyra moved with quiet purpose, her glowing patterns dimmed to a soft shimmer, her eyes scanning the darkness for threats. Kale noticed the tension in her shoulders, the way her hands twitched at every sound. Though she was the daughter of the alien queen, a princess of a power that could crush planets, she carried a fragility that made her human in the most profound way. They reached Kale's private estate, a small compound built to withstand storms, both natural and political. Inside, the walls were lined with maps of stars, notes on alien movements, and instruments designed to detect the faintest ripple of energy from the floating city above. It was a safe place, or as safe as any human haven could be when hosting a royal alien fugitive. Lyra sank into a chair, her hands clasped tightly together. Her usual glowing patterns flickered nervously, revealing her inner turmoil. "I cannot stay hidden forever," she said quietly. "The queen, she watches everything. I know she will come for me if she senses my absence too late. If I am to help you, I need to understand what you're running from, and why you chose me. Love, fear, anger, it all becomes part of me, and through me it affects others. It is a power I cannot control alone. If I return to her world, it will bring harm to everyone around me, humans and aliens alike. You see the truth, even when it is dangerous. You are not afraid of what you cannot understand. And I need someone who can stand beside me, who can guide me when the curse grows too strong." But here was one of their royal heirs, confessing vulnerability, seeking connection and trust. "You realize what this means?" Kale asked softly. "If your mother discovers you are here, if the curse is triggered, it could start a war. Entire civilizations could be at risk. I cannot live as a shadow, not fully alive. I needed to feel something real, even if it means risking everything." Her presence was intoxicating, not in a physical sense, but in the way it touched the deepest parts of his mind and heart. "Then we face it together," Kale said finally. "I will help you understand your powers. We will find a way to keep you safe and maybe even free you from this curse. Not anyone in your world." Slowly, they began to weave a plan, a fragile hope that together they could survive what was coming. Hours passed, and the first hints of dawn painted the sky in muted colors. Lyra's glowing patterns dimmed further, her energy fading from constant tension. Kale noticed the subtle tremor in her hands. "You're tired," he observed gently. "You've carried this burden alone for too long. For tonight, at least, no one can reach you here. Kale, I trust you." Kale tensed, eyes darting toward the window. Outside, the skies over the settlement shimmered with an unnatural light, the floating city reacting, perhaps sensing the absence of its princess. Lyra's eyes widened in alarm. "They know," she whispered. "The queen, she knows I am here. Soon she will send watchers, soldiers, perhaps more. We need to understand your powers, control the curse, and find a way to protect you before she arrives. Tonight, you are not just a fugitive, you are my responsibility. One wrong thought, one wrong touch, and I could hurt everyone around me. We are not alone anymore." Outside, the first light of dawn touched the horizon, painting the alien flora in shades of gold and violet. Lyra stood, stretching slightly, as if waking from a long sleep. "We should begin," she said, determination sharpening her voice. "There is much to learn, and the queen will not wait. She will come for me soon." "Then we begin now. Just your thoughts, nothing more. We start simple, control the energy you can feel through the curse. You are doing it. Control your feelings, and the energy responds. Let the energy flow with what you want, not what frightens you. I never thought I could feel control. This is new." Somewhere in the darkness, they observed the human who dared to touch the alien princess, and the princess who had dared to run toward a stranger. The night was far from over, and the challenges ahead were only beginning. The skies over Veridia were dark, the twin moons casting a silvery glow over the jagged plains. Kale and Lyra moved swiftly along the concealed paths, leaving the human settlement behind. The air was thick with tension, each step carrying the weight of an invisible threat. Kale could feel it in the way the ground seemed to hum faintly beneath them. The alien city above was aware, its energy reaching down like tendrils through space itself. Lyra's patterns glowed softly in the dim light, pulsing with her heartbeat. Every now and then she would glance at Kale with a mixture of concern and resolve. "We are close," she whispered. "The floating city lies just beyond this ridge, but it is more dangerous than you can imagine. My mother's reach, it is everywhere." The alien city shimmered in the distance, its crystalline spires reflecting the moon's light like a field of stars. He had studied the floating city from afar, but nothing compared to seeing it in person. The scale, the energy, the sense that the city itself was alive, watching, and judging. As they approached the first energy barrier surrounding the city, Lyra paused. "We must be careful." Guards patrol the perimeters, not just in body, but in mind. The Queen's senses extend far beyond what you can see. She whispered words Kale did not understand, and the energy parted like a gentle wave, allowing them to slip through. For a brief moment, Kale felt the city's power brush against him, a cold, almost electric sensation that left him trembling. Inside, the city was unlike anything he had imagined. Crystalline towers stretched impossibly high, corridors glimmered with light that seemed to flow like liquid, and floating platforms moved silently between the spires. The air was thick with energy, making Kale's skin tingle. It was beautiful, terrifying, and alien in a way that made every instinct in him scream caution. Lyra led him down winding paths and narrow bridges, avoiding patrols of soldiers whose eyes glowed faintly with psychic energy. Every time they passed a guard, Kale felt a subtle pressure in his mind, as if the soldiers could sense him, probe his thoughts. He clenched his jaw, focusing on Lyra's presence beside him. Her hand brushed his at one point, and a surge of warmth ran through him, grounding him against the city's unnatural influence. "Why are you helping me?" Lyra asked quietly after a tense pause. Kale glanced at her. "Because I cannot let you face this alone, and because I feel that you are not only running from your mother but reaching for something real. Something beyond duty and power." In the center, a circular platform hovered, radiating power. Lyra's hands trembled as she approached it. "This is the heart of my mother's palace," she whispered. "It is where her power is strongest, and it is where she will confront us if she senses my presence. We need answers, and we need to understand your power fully." Kale felt it brush against his mind, probing gently, testing him. He froze, realizing the city itself was alive, extending the Queen's senses, reaching for intruders. Lyra's hand found his, gripping tightly. "Stay focused," she murmured. "You must not fear. The energy feeds on fear." He could feel the pull, the attempt to read his thoughts, but he clung to Lyra's presence, letting it anchor him. Slowly, the hum faded, and the platform's energy seemed to recognize him as an ally rather than a threat. From the shadows, a figure emerged, tall, regal, and terrifying. The Queen's presence filled the chamber like a storm, cold and commanding. Her eyes glowed faintly, piercing through the layers of psychic energy that Kale barely understood. "Lyra," she said, her voice echoing, resonant with authority. "Why do you defy me? And I will not hurt those I care about to satisfy your will." I seek to help her control the power she has been burdened with, to prevent harm, not cause it. "You are bold," the Queen said finally, "but boldness alone will not save you. Lyra, you risk everything by standing here. Your choices ripple across worlds." Kale stumbled, fighting the force, but he felt Lyra's hand on his shoulder, steadying him. Together, they absorbed the impact, their combined focus stabilizing the energy. Kale realized then that their connection was more than emotional. It was a bond that amplified their presence, even in the face of the Queen's power. "You are stronger than I thought," the Queen said, her tone both warning and intrigued. "Perhaps there is more to this than mere rebellion." A sudden surge of energy erupted from the platform, lifting both Lyra and Kale slightly off the ground. Their hearts pounded, but they clung to each other, grounding themselves against the storm. Kale realized something extraordinary. Lyra's curse, her power, was responding to their trust, their bond. The Queen's strength was vast, but the human-alien connection between them created a force even she could not fully control. Lyra's glow intensified further, bright and unwavering. "We can do this together," she whispered, determination shining through her fear. Kale nodded, reaching for her hand. Together, he said. For a moment the storm of energy paused, as if the city itself acknowledged their union, and then as quickly as it had begun the chaos subsided, leaving a tense silence. The queen stepped back, her gaze measuring, thoughtful. "You are daring," she said finally, her voice echoing like thunder. "I see now why the fates have twisted so strangely. But remember this, Lyra, your defiance has consequences. The balance is fragile. One misstep and it could destroy everything." "We shall see," she said. "But know this, paths chosen in defiance are never free of shadows. Choose wisely." "Not like that. But with you, I do." And somewhere far beyond the city, forces stirred, watching, waiting, testing the bond that had dared to defy an empire. Kale knew one truth with certainty. The journey had only begun. And the war beneath the stars was about to. The hidden paths beneath the floating city were alive with faint whispers of energy, ancient currents that pulsed like the heartbeat of the world above. Kale and Lyra moved cautiously, every step carrying the weight of uncertainty and danger. The air shimmered with a strange luminescence, as though the walls themselves were aware of intruders. Lyra's glow flickered nervously, pulsing with her emotions. "This place," she whispered, her voice tight with tension. "It is sacred. Few have ever walked here, and even fewer return unchanged. We have no choice. The Queen will not stop until she finds you, Lyra, and we must understand your powers before she does. I think you are that person." As they advanced, the tunnels opened into a vast chamber carved from crystal, its walls etched with glowing alien runes. At the center, a circular dais hovered above the ground, radiating energy that hummed in resonance with Lyra's power. "This is it," Lyra said softly, stepping forward. "The chamber of the prophecy. Here I can see the threads of my curse, and perhaps I can understand how to control it fully." Kale watched, awestruck, as patterns of luminous symbols floated in the air, forming images that seemed to shift and twist with her emotions. "The curse reacts to my feelings," Lyra whispered. "Love, fear, hope, all of it becomes part of me, and through me it spreads. I must remain calm, or it could consume everything." "Focus on me," he said. "On our bond, let that guide the energy." "You are stronger than I imagined," Kale said quietly, watching her. "And together we are stronger still. Together we face whatever comes." "You tread dangerously, Lyra," she said, her voice echoing like distant thunder. "And you, human, you have inserted yourself into forces far beyond your comprehension." Kale stumbled, gripping a crystal column for support, while Lyra's glow responded immediately, forming a shield of light that absorbed the impact. He realized then that her powers were not just defensive, they were reactive, tied to her emotions and her connection to him. "You are bold," the Queen said, her gaze narrowing. "Perhaps too bold. Do you truly believe your connection is enough to defy me?" Kale felt a pressure in his chest, a psychic weight that threatened to overwhelm him. But Lyra's hand on his, her steady gaze, anchored him. He realized that their bond was not just emotional, it was powerful, shaping the energy around them. "You dare challenge me with this?" the Queen asked, her voice a mixture of incredulity and caution. Lyra's glow expanded, bright and unwavering. "It is not just me, it is us, and I choose this path even if it means standing against you." The Queen raised her hand, and spectral guardians emerged from the walls, creatures of light and shadow that mirrored Lyra's own powers. Kale realized they would have to fight, not with violence, but with focus, control, and unity. "Remember," Lyra whispered, her voice steady despite the fear in her eyes. "We control it together. Trust in our bond." The Guardians advanced, and the chamber responded. Energy waves collided, rippling through the air like invisible storms. Lyra's glow intensified with every heartbeat, reacting to Kale's presence, amplifying their combined strength. One Guardian lunged toward Kale, and instinctively Lyra extended her hand. A wave of light struck the creature, dispersing it into shimmering particles that vanished into the air. Another advanced toward Lyra, but Kale's voice called her name, and she shifted the energy, redirecting the attack. They moved together step by step, every action synchronized. The energy pulsed with their emotions, fear, courage, trust, and determination, forming a rhythm that even the Queen could not immediately disrupt. Finally, after what felt like hours but was only moments, the Guardians dissipated, leaving the chamber quiet and charged with residual energy. Lyra sank to her knees, breathing heavily, her glow dimming to a soft shimmer. Kale knelt beside her, offering a steadying hand. You did it, he said softly. We did it. The Queen will not give up, but now we know together we can face whatever comes. The Queen's presence will not remain absent for long. We have glimpsed what we are capable of, but now the real challenge begins. Outside, the floating city pulsed, aware of the defiance it had just witnessed. Somewhere deep within, the Queen's eyes lingered, assessing, calculating, waiting for the moment to strike again. As they disappeared into the shadows, Lyra's hand brushed Kale's, and a quiet warmth spread between them. A bond not just of trust, but of something deeper, something unspoken yet undeniable. The stars above the city shimmered, distant and eternal, as if the universe itself was watching. And in that silent, infinite space, Kale understood one truth. The path ahead would be filled with shadows, danger, and choices that could shape worlds. But he also knew that as long as Lyra stood beside him, they could face anything, even the wrath of a queen. And in the distance, the faint hum of energy pulsed like a heartbeat, echoing through the corridors of the floating city. The queen would not rest. The watchers would not rest. But neither would they, two souls bound across worlds, defying fate, shaping a destiny that belonged to no one but themselves. The story was far from over. The shadows of the past and the choices of the present would collide in ways neither could predict. And yet, in that moment, Kale and Lyra stood together, stronger than fear, stronger than expectation, ready for the trials that awaited them beneath the stars. The chamber at the heart of the floating city pulsed with light, a swirling vortex of colors that seemed to stretch into infinity. Kale and Lyra stood at its center, hands clasped, the air around them thick with energy. The Queen had sensed their presence and now stood at the far end of the chamber, her aura shimmering with authority and power. The moment had come, the confrontation they had both feared and anticipated. "You have chosen your path, Lyra," the Queen said, her voice resonating through the space like a storm. "And by choosing a human, you risk everything your birthright grants you. You risk your people, your world, even your own life. I will not let the past dictate my future, nor allow your curse to control me any longer." "You misunderstand," the Queen said, raising her hand. "I am not here to destroy you yet. I am here to test you. The curse is ancient, Lyra. Its power is immense, and if misused, it could unravel not only your soul but the balance between our worlds. Whatever comes, we will stand as one." He realized that their bond was no longer just emotional. It was a connection of power, a fusion of human determination and alien energy that could stand against even the Queen's wrath. "Very well," the Queen said, her tone measured. "Let us see if the prophecy is true. Let us see if your bond can overcome what I have set in motion. Step together, act together, trust in each other, and we can control this." Lyra raised her hands, channeling the energy. Bright patterns shimmered across her skin, illuminating the chamber with a dazzling light. Kale mirrored her movements instinctively, focusing his mind on calm, steady thoughts. The Guardians surged forward, but each wave of energy that threatened them was met with the combined force of their trust. One Guardian lunged at Kale, its form shifting like smoke and crystal. Lyra extended her hand, and a wave of light pushed the creature back, dispersing it into sparkling particles that vanished into the air. Another Guardian swept toward Lyra, but Kale's voice called her name, steady and commanding, anchoring her focus. She redirected the energy, absorbing and transforming it into a shield that pulsed with warmth and power. Step by step, wave by wave, they moved in perfect synchronization, the chamber responding to their unity. The Queen watched silently, her expression unreadable as the prophecy began to unfold before her eyes. The bond between human and alien, once thought impossible, manifested as a force even she could not fully control. Finally, after what felt like an eternity compressed into moments, the Guardians dissolved into light. The chamber fell silent, charged with residual energy that hummed softly like a heartbeat. Kale and Lyra stood at the center, breathing heavily, their hands still clasped, their bond stronger than ever. The Queen approached slowly, her aura softened, but her presence remained commanding. "Perhaps I underestimated the strength of trust," she said. "You have faced the curse, defied its chaos, and stood together. Lyra, you have grown beyond what I imagined." Then with a subtle nod, she withdrew, her aura receding. "Know this," she said, her voice echoing. "The balance between our worlds is delicate. Your bond has shifted it, but the universe watches, and the choices you make now will echo far beyond this chamber. Use this gift wisely." The immediate danger had passed, but the weight of their actions settled on him. He looked at Lyra, seeing the mixture of exhaustion and triumph in her luminous eyes. You did it, he said softly. We did it. That I could feel free, even for a moment. The bond between them, forged through danger, trust, and shared courage, had transformed into something undeniable, a connection that transcended worlds, titles, and fear. Outside the chamber, the floating city shimmered in response, a subtle acknowledgement of the bond that had altered its balance. Somewhere far above, the queen observed from her private spire, her mind weighing the future, considering the possibility that love and trust could become forces as powerful as fear and obedience. Kale and Lyra left the chamber together, walking along the quiet corridors, the energy around them calm but alive. They spoke little, words unnecessary in the presence of shared understanding. Each step carried the weight of victory, the promise of future challenges, and the profound realization that they had changed the fate of two worlds. They reached a platform overlooking the horizon, where the moons reflected off the crystalline spires, painting the scene in silvers and golds. Lyra gazed at the distant stars, her thoughts reaching beyond the city, beyond her mother, beyond the limits of her past life. Kale, she said softly, I have learned that power is not just about control or fear. It is about choice, about courage, and about trust. And you have shown both strength and heart. As they stood side by side, the city beneath them seemed to breathe, the energy flowing in harmony with their bond. For the first time, the floating spires no longer felt like a prison, but a testament to possibility, a world shaped not by fear, but by courage and love. The distant stars above shimmered like witnesses to their triumph. And though the universe was vast, unpredictable, and full of unseen challenges, Kale knew one truth. As long as Lyra was by his side, they could face whatever came. The queen's influence remained, a quiet shadow in the distance, but it no longer carried the same weight of dread. She had witnessed their courage, their unity, and perhaps, in her own way, she had seen the power of choice and love. Together, Kale and Lyra turned their gaze to the horizon. Beyond the floating city, beyond the moons and stars, lay the future, uncertain, dangerous, yet radiant with possibility. Their journey had begun with fear and defiance, but it would continue with trust, courage, and a bond that no force could sever. And in that quiet moment, beneath the pulsing lights of a city suspended in the sky, Kale and Lyra understood that the greatest battles were not fought with strength alone, but with the heart. The universe, vast and eternal, watched them step forward, together unbroken and ready to face the adventures yet to come.